There is no market niche. What exists is the energetic originality of the soul that reveals itself and creates the niche. It's not that you found the niche, you are the niche. That's where the real issue lies.
Sparks that I don't remember. Hold and let it shine. Fix and start to fade away. Fix and start to fade away. Fix and start to fade away.
Hi, dear friends of Kabbalah Podcast. We're here again with Mario Sabán. Shalom, Mario. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Very happy because we are going to work on a topic that I really like. That is creativity. And we will talk about ways to stimulate or how creativity can be stimulated.
Well, look, we have to begin, at least from my point of view, by looking at this from two angles, right? One angle is the Ein Sof, meaning the infinite field of possibilities, the potential of information. What does a creative mind have? We all have a creative mind because we all possess a dimension called Netzach, which is our creativity. What happens, unfortunately, is that creativity is almost always associated strictly with art or writing. But creativity can actually encompass an entire personality. In other words, someone can be creative as an accountant, someone can be creative in whatever they do. So the question is, how does creativity develop? Where does it come from? How do we work with it? First of all, we have to understand something that for me is almost like a law, one of the fundamental laws of Kabbalah, which is that every soul has its own mission in reality in this material existence, and what that soul is meant to discover has not been discovered by anyone else. In other words, we know that every soul has a path that others cannot see, and along that path there is a quantity of original information that no one else has access to. From a spiritual perspective, we could say that there is no such thing as copy and paste. Spiritually speaking, copying is almost impossible, and for that reason, when people try to imitate others in the spiritual world, when they copy and paste, it goes wrong. Why does it go wrong? Because it becomes obvious that there is no creativity there, and what becomes evident beyond surface-level creativity is that the soul is not developing its true potential. The soul is not revealing its true nature. Ileia. Ultimately, when a soul, out of insecurity or out of a sense of impotence in searching for its own identity, falls into this copying and pasting, which we see a lot today on social media and which has always existed historically, what that soul is really doing is being dishonest with itself. I would even say more than the soul, the mind becomes dishonest with itself, and as a result, the power of the soul, its true nature, does not emerge. So I would start from a more essential foundation than creativity as a mere tool. Any soul that reveals itself as it truly is already creative by definition, because that soul is revealing something that no other soul can reveal. From this perspective, creativity in Kabbalah is inherent to the very act of revealing the soul. When the soul reveals itself, it is already revealing information that no one else has, and therefore its creativity becomes visible. So where do we see creativity in people? In those who most honestly extract their soul and allow it to be seen. On the other hand, those who deceive themselves, those who want to copy, who say, well, I'm going to copy someone else because then I'll get the same results, don't realize that every time they copy another person, they are escaping from their own soul identity. They try to walk someone else's path because it worked for that person, so they assume it will work for them too. But no, it worked for the other person because that person was revealing their own soul. That's why it worked. The moment that person starts copying someone else, it stops working. Why? Because the real question in Kabbalah is, where do results come from? Results come from the soul's ability to reveal itself as it truly is. What does the mind do? The mind thinks in a completely distorted way. It believes that results come from applying the same method someone else used. So it says, if Mercedes-Benz made this car, I'll copy it and I'll have the same sales. But that doesn't happen. And do you know why? Because in copying, you were dishonest with your own soul. What happens? This is very difficult for people to grasp, because for some reason, we come from a very distorted paradigm in relation to this. That is, if something worked for you, it must work for me, so I copy it. And there lies a perceptual failure regarding energy. What I copy will always fail, because it does not truly arise from the inner honesty of perceiving the nature of my own soul. Therefore, I would say that the first foundation, if one wants to bring out their greatest creativity, is to begin by observing what kinds of dishonesty they are engaging in, dishonesties that have nothing to do with what their soul truly vibrates with.
I see that the issue is that we face a problem here, which is related to... Anyway, I think that the system in which we live functions as a kind of creativity suppressor because it prioritizes what, so to speak, works. It may work at the level of popularity, at the level of visibility on social media, and so on. So when something is seen to work, whatever the reason may be, because it triggers certain reactions, people begin to replicate it, initiating a series of processes.
Sure, it's like the marketing guru tells you, saying you have to do this. Everyone
Yes,
does this.
Exactly right.
The problem is that everyone does this.
But that's a deception, because in the end, it doesn't work that way.
The marketing guru is paid to say these things, these hooks. But to be clear, it's a deception on a soul level because no one finds their own path.
Yes, indeed, obviously.
Ultimately, pay attention. Here we are going to hit on a topic that, although it comes from marketing language,
Yes.
this is related to spirituality because you see, ultimately the marketing world resides within the superficial realm. We must step away from this superficiality, observe what is being stated superficially, and then we will attempt to translate that into an energetic dimension.
Yes?
In the world of the surface, people say, I found a niche. We've all heard it. Yes, yes, a market niche. No, there is no market niche. There is no market niche. What exists is the energetic originality of the soul that reveals itself and creates the niche. It's not that you found the niche, you are the niche. That's where the real issue lies. The problem is that we're sold the idea that the answer is on the surface, that we have to go out and look for the niche in the market. But the niche is not in the market, ladies and gentlemen. Energetically, when the soul brings something original, it doesn't find the niche. The niche is the soul itself. And because we operate in the world of the surface, we analyze everything from the surface level. Notice how curious this is. Students who come to Kabbalah often say the first thing they want is practical results. And you pause for a moment thinking, of course, practical results are important. However, do they want outcomes without changing? Meaning, do they want results? Results without having changed? So you tell them, no, first you have to go through an inner process of change. Oh no, I just want results. I don't want the inner process of change. But there are no results without an inner process of change, without a reconnection with the neshama. And so even spirituality has become trapped in this distortion, this obsession with results. The system we are living in is, in that sense, almost diabolical at the surface level. Everyone wants results, and results seem to be what determine us. But no, we are the ones who determine the results.
Yes,
the
it is.
conditions of matter, because then we would be in Marxist materialism, where the conditions of matter determine us. No, our energy is what determines matter. It is our energy that changes matter. Therefore, the first thing we have to say is this. Do you want to look for a market niche? Then stop looking for it. There is no market niche. What you have to look for is within yourself, what your soul has to offer the world. And when you offer that to the world, you will find that marketing will tell you that you have a niche. But that niche does not exist in the market. It exists energetically within you.
Sure. What you're saying is interesting, because in order to produce what you're describing, one somehow has to understand how the system works, doesn't one? At least at the level where energy, intention, and structure converge.
There are two parts, correct? You spent many years in music. Let me give you an example. You analyze the musical trend to create music according to the trend. Or you make music that you believe is what your soul was meant to do. And then your soul's music will come forth, not the music of trends.
We didn't make music that followed trends, which is why we weren't extremely famous, but we stayed true to our sound and our creative integrity.
Don't worry about that. The most important thing is to be creative.
Yes, I know, but what I wanted to, I'll tell you something later that...
Careful.
No.
Trap there.
I already know.
Many people fall
Sure.
into this trap. Let's look
Of
for
course.
results. I want to. They join Kabbalah classes wanting results. Tomorrow I want to be Nietzsche's Superman. They want results. Let's see, you change first. Order your mind, change your perception. We often get asked for practical results in Kabbalah courses,
Yes,
as if we offer a magic solution
Sure.
where they take the potion and get practical results. No, sir. If you want practical results, head to the pharmacy. Take ibuprofen, which will change you chemically, but inner work takes time. Real inner work.
that's why I was talking about understanding how the system works. When I said the system, I wasn't referring to the system of social organization. I was referring to how energy interactions function, how Chokma interacts with Bina, how that coupling takes place, and how from that coupling knowledge is produced, how Dart is generated, Dart as a creative phenomenon.
The first thing is that Bina can have issues regarding results, because Bina operates in relation to the matter of results. The rational mind seeks results. That is, the marketer will say, interview this person because they have 1 million followers. People follow them.
Yes,
What happens? 18 million Germans voted for Hitler. The number is just a number. Is that clear? It's not the quantity of results.
sure.
It's the type of energy that is moving. One must be very careful in this paradigm, which is highly distorted. Everyone chasing results, selling their soul to the devil, because the soul becomes completely frustrated. All that is being sought is results. This, coming from the business world, has invaded everything regarding outcomes. We are facing a world focused only on external results. In the spiritual world, external results have a kind of limit, because if there is no inner change, all external outcomes will have no real meaning. In reality, there will be a kind of betrayal of the soul. If there is no betrayal of the soul, and the soul is shown as it truly is, then the results that come are excellent, because they correspond to the vibration of the soul within. You do your inner work, your soul vibrates, and the external results come accordingly. Therefore, there are external results that have a vibrational sense, in harmony with what the soul produces. But in the case of chasing only external results, while feeling an existential emptiness during this pursuit, this is very dangerous. Here we are in the klipa of Yesod, a realm where only the image sells. I buy image, I have image results, but there is no depth. Be careful. Souls do not betray themselves through a frantic process of seeking results. True fulfillment comes from aligning external results with the inner work and the authentic vibration of the soul. Real growth occurs when the outer achievements reflect the inner transformation and the true essence of the soul.
We invite the audience to share their experiences, their creative experiences. Explain to us if you like it and if you feel motivated by the topic we are discussing today, and to join us in continuing this dialogue together. And so, to utilize this space for everyone to share their experiences, which is always enriching. Mario, I wanted to inquire, how do you approach creative processes that you use when writing, for example? But please don't answer me now. Give me 15 seconds and we'll be back. We'll take a short pause and return to this question right after. Hey Mario, you're looking tan from the lights. What's going on with you?
I don't see you. Who are you?
Here, I am Nacho.
Hey, Nacho. How are you? This light is killing me. I need sunglasses.
Listen, there's another eye watching us. There are a lot of people back there. Hey, you, over there on the other side. Give it a like, subscribe, and join us. And if you want to collaborate in a more active way, here there is a QR that allows you to help us to continue and keep doing this podcast. You also have it in the link below in the comments. And on this Patreon, you'll find an online Kabbalah course in English to help transform your life and become happier. Mario, next time?
Sunglasses. Umbrella.
Yes, umbrella. Mario, I had asked you how you mainly develop your creative processes when it comes to writing. Do you do anything in particular to stimulate that? Especially in terms of preparing the inner space where inspiration can emerge.
There is a very curious point in my biography that I noticed, something we now call synesthesia. I have explained this in many interviews. It happens between classical music, especially Baroque classical music, and a state of inspiration. It's as if I can open a kind of channel, let's say of illumination or inspiration, however you want to call it, where a type of information flows to me with a specific kind of music. This is Baroque music, very clear. I reach composers from 1750, 1760, and it works for me. But when I move past 1780 with Mozart, Beethoven, I can no longer access that inspiration. There's a very clear change. That's why it happens with Baroque music. Surely for those listening, it may happen to someone while composing music or someone while dancing. For me, it happens with Baroque music. It automatically makes the writing flow, I would almost say like a channel of connection, not my own ideas, but almost cosmogonic ideas that are being expressed. Now, what happened after many years was that in one of Gershom Scholem's studies, in his work Major Trends in Jewish Mysticism, which is a fundamental work in the history of Kabbalah, he mentions that this also happened to Moses de Leon in the 13th century. In the 13th century, he would enter a state of automatic writing inspiration. It seems that another case occurred in the 17th century with Jacob Boehme, a Christian mystic, who also achieved what is called automatic writing, the ability to decode information, allowing the person not to consciously think about the text structure. Instead, the information flows, bypassing the mind. It's as if the Baina no longer mediates, and the information comes directly as a flow. Of course, later I have to intervene in organizing the text, because at the speed the information comes, I sometimes skip words since the idea is what matters most. So grammatical correction is necessary. Really, what happens to me is this. Many people ask, how do you write? Or how much do you write? Honestly, I write relatively little over time because I have a lot of research and reading to do. But once I focus on writing, I can, for example, a book I researched for 2 or 3 years. I didn't write a page every day during that time. I realize more and more that inspiration is a dialogue with something greater than myself. And in that dialogue, I often discover parts of my own soul I never knew were there. So, when I enter this flow, I can write 20-25 pages a day, or 15 or 7 or 20. Basically, I would say that the writing process can last 4 or 5 months, 6 months at most, but at a very intense pace. Of course, there is an initial period where I accumulate information to the point that I feel completely full of the first part of the accumulation process. I would say that this phase involves at least 2 years of research. Then when I make the decision to start writing, the research phase stops because I feel completely full and I begin to discharge everything I have accumulated. At this stage, the accumulated research combines with the flow of information that seems not to belong to me. It's as if a field opens up where the information comes down. In fact, within the text itself, I start noticing gaps, empty spaces of information, topics that unfold even during the act of writing itself. The writing opens spaces rather than closing them. Occasionally I go into the details, but generally it opens fields of exploration. Eventually, I realize that it opens new research areas, and for this reason, I am very aware of the power of students' questions. In research, one should not remain only endogamous with one's own analysis or questions. It is essential to observe deeply what others are opening, why they open it, and which path they are exploring. Sorry. Usually, our habitual mind tends to give automatic and quick answers. Regarding what we discussed earlier about results, if I don't have the answer, I feel bad. There is a desperation for an answer. In Kabbalah, there is a desperate focus on the question itself, not the answer. This is a real experiential desperation for the question. Then I look for answers, not merely searching for them, but exploring what level of openness this question can give me, and what kind of responses I can give that in turn open more fields of information. Ultimately, we are talking about our encounter with the Ein Sof, the infinite potential. Within this infinite potential, one must always recognize that there are areas that only your soul came to open. If you do not open them, others likely will not. You are performing personal tikkun because this information serves you, but also tikkun olam because it will serve your fellow beings and those who come after. And so, in this process, one realizes that the act of writing, the flow of information, and the opening of questions is not just for personal understanding. It is a dialogue with the infinite, a way in which the soul reveals its unique path. Each insight, each moment of inspiration is a piece of a larger cosmic tapestry, connecting you with others and with the deeper truths of existence. The work is never only about results or recognition. It is about aligning with the energy of the soul and allowing it to guide the journey, both for oneself and for those who will encounter the fruits of this work in the future.
Obviously.
Because you are opening fields of information, these are like strategies of creativity inherent to the functioning of the soul, between Chokma and Bina. When you asked, how do they copulate? Chokma engages with the questions, Bina engages with the answers, but in the end, Bina always has to be surpassed by Chokma because there is always more or than Kli.
Of course.
So always have this thought, right? That there is always more or than Kli. How much or am I overlooking because of my Kli's limitations?
Absolutely. I enjoyed what you said about the synesthesia process. If you don't mind, I want to share something that I experience. I believe that synesthesia is nothing more than a demonstration of the opening processes that a person in a creative process experiences. For me, for example, I know, don't ask me why, this is something subjective, that each note has a color. For me, C is black, D is yellow, E is red, F is orange, G is a slightly deeper red, and A is light blue. And this connection between sound and color guides my creative flow in ways I can hardly explain.
So when you compose, you are changing colors.
Certainly, I have a feeling inside chromatic with different colors.
And afterwards,
Sure.
you can move it to the music.
For me, B is white. So I don't do it consciously, but I combine different sounds, but I feel inside that sounds are colors. I can't explain this process with words, you know.
The question would be a question I would ask you to try to evaluate this. Do colors drive sound, or do sounds drive colors?
No, for me, let's say there is a relationship that cannot be separated.
Because in my case, it's very clear.
Yes, that music.
Music leads me to writing.
What happens to me is that, for instance, when I create a song, I am in a composing process. Sometimes I make a song and I work in a structured and organized manner. And sometimes I make a song.
And what happened?
I write a song, and days later I hear it and remember nothing. I don't know who wrote it. It's incredible, but it's true.
Absolutely. Well, so there. It is downloading data not structured by your binas since it comes directly from the cosmos. Now, the question is, what is it? I suspect something, and probably some readers would have to test it on an experiential level. I suspect that the music has a vibration with which I can express it or embody it in the lyrics. Therefore, the lyrics become an embodiment of the music,
Energy.
from the music's vibration. I think that when the reader reads the text,
They listen.
they listen. As the reader reads the book, they listen. I'm nearly certain I never mentioned it to any reader to avoid startling them. However, I think it influences them. In some way, it affects some of them. I don't think it's all of them, those who read. However, there has to be a portion of the readers. When they dive in, they resonate with the vibration of the lyrics that correspond to the rhythm of that music.
Exactly.
So, I believe that the reader's synesthesias are also at play. And the reader is able to perceive
Yes.
the details, vibrational information, the information that is clothing, of the vibration of music, therefore, it's as if they are reading a musical composition.
That's great, Mario.
Musical composition. Sure, what we would have to do with this is see what kind of music I heard, to write the lyrics, pass them to you, and you add the chromatic elements.
Well,
For
it
you
could
to
be.
add the chromatic.
It could be. We can do it, just in case. Never be in a place where reggaeton is playing while you're writing.
No, I can't write. Do you understand what I go through?
Tell me.
When there is a type of music that is not Baroque, I get blocked. My mind shuts down.
Sorry to all reggaeton lovers, my apologies. This is not a prejudice.
I enjoy a wide variety of music, but not for inspiration, only for pleasure, not for writing. You know.
Of course.
This doesn't mean that I don't enjoy other types of music, but the kind of music that resonates with me, and mind you, I've tried exploring, goes all the way back to the strings of the 15th century.
Not working?
And therefore I enjoy all the string performances from the Renaissance. It doesn't provoke me about the Baroque. You see, that is, this period spans from 1570 to 1770. When I think of 1440 and the troubadours from southern France, I like that music, but it's not the same.
You should look into some regression to find out if there's anything from that era.
I don't know what's happening, I don't know what's going on, but I tell you, and be careful, because that era developed a lot in Italy, especially in Venice. When I go to Venice, I find that Venice attracts me, because I think, for me, even the architecture is creating a vibration.
Sure.
So here we have an amazing area of creativity. However, many have researched synesthesia, and those in the scientific community who are listening, I would say that synesthesia is increasingly proving the neuronal interrelation. Now take care. In Kabbalah, we are a little ahead of science in the sense that our neurons act as antennas, receiving information that we need at the level of tikkun, of our soul. So we are channeling the type of information that relates to the nature of our soul. We are not receiving just any kind of information, and this is the true purpose of our inner work.
Shalom, Mario. Thanks.
Shalom, Nacho.